Darkness, cold, silence, then light. A harsh blue light blinked on above, burning into his eyes. Jace gasped and sat up, his chest rising and falling fast. His skin was covered in sweat and dust. Chains rattled as he moved his hands, metal cuffs locked around his wrists, and a thick collar squeezed his neck. Where was he? The floor beneath him was made of black steel, shaking slightly, as if something massive was walking nearby. The air was dry, with a strange metallic smell. High above, he saw a dome of glass, and behind it, millions of strange eyes stared down at him. Aliens, thousands of them, maybe more. They sat in stadium-like rows, some with long tentacles, others with eyes on stalks. Their mouths made clicking and growling sounds. Their skin glowed, shimmered, or dripped with slime. He couldn't understand them, but he could feel their hunger. This wasn't a rescue. This was a show. Suddenly, a loud voice spoke through a speaker above. The words were not in English, but his collar buzzed, and then he heard a cold translation. Species 497. One survivor found. Begin the trial of extinction. Send him to the arena of no return. Jace's eyes widened. Species 497, a human. He was the last. A hiss echoed behind him. The metal floor split open, and his platform began rising. Light poured in from all sides. His ears rang. Then he was standing in the middle of a massive circular arena. High walls surrounded him. The crowd roared, waving glowing signs and alien banners. Strange drums pounded like thunder. On the far side of the arena, a tall gate began to open. He didn't have a weapon, no armor, nothing but his rags and the metal collar, and something was coming from the gate. A beast charged forward. It had 6 legs, sharp black claws, and a mouth filled with rows of teeth. Its thick hide looked like armor, and its eyes glowed red. As it ran, it screamed a horrible, shrill sound that shook the ground. Jace's legs froze for a second. Fear tried to take him. Run, a voice in his mind shouted. Move or die. He rolled to the side just as the beast leapt toward him. It slammed into the spot where he stood a second ago, cracking the ground. The crowd cheered. Jace scrambled to his feet and ran toward the wall. The chains around his wrists made it hard to balance, but he kept moving. The beast turned and gave Jace faster than he expected. Claws slashed, cutting his side. Blood sprayed, but Jace didn't fall. He spotted a broken spike half buried in the ground left over from a past fight. Without thinking, he dove for it, rolled, grabbed it, and spun. The beast lunged again. This time, Jace dodged left and jammed the spike into its side. It howled and stumbled, not dead but hurt. Jace backed up, panting, holding the spike like a dagger. He knew this wouldn't last long. The beast was faster, stronger. One mistake, and he was meat. Above, in a dark glass booth, an alien with golden eyes leaned forward. He wore long robes and had a large crystal on his forehead. His name was unknown, but others whispered it with fear. The archivist. He turned to the alien guards and said in a low voice, increase the difficulty. Let's see what this human is made of. Back in the arena, a second gate opened. Jace's heart sank. Another beast. No, this one was worse. A towering humanoid stepped out, 8 feet tall, skin covered in black armor. It held a massive blade, humming with energy. Its face was hidden behind a mask with glowing red eyes. The crowd went silent for a moment. This was not a random beast. This was a gladiator, a trained alien killer. Jace stood in the center, breathing hard, blood running down his side. He looked at the spike in his hand, then at the 2 enemies before him. One bleeding, one untouched. His body hurt, his vision blurred. He thought of Earth. He didn't remember much, just blue skies, a woman's face, laughter. He whispered, I'm not dying here, and he screamed with a sudden burst of speed. Jace ran toward the injured beast. It roared and charged. At the last second, he slid under it and drove the spike deep into its chest. The beast shrieked and fell, twitching. The gladiator moved too fast. Its blade slashed at him. He barely dodged, feeling heat scorch his back. He dropped the spike, rolled, and grabbed the beast's tooth ripped clean from its mouth. A sharp, curved blade. The gladiator came again. This time, Jace didn't dodge. He stepped in. He took the hit on his shoulder. Pain exploded, but he was close enough to stab the tooth under the gladiator's arm. The alien howled and dropped its blade. Jace caught it midair. His arms shook. The blade was heavy, but he lifted it. And he brought it down. The crowd was silent. Blood dripped. 2 bodies lay still, and Jace stood in the center, barely breathing but alive. The arena roared. Some cheered, others screamed. The archivist stared. This one is different, he whispered. And far, Far away in a locked lab, a small light blinked red. A machine recorded the event with one word: awakening. The medbot buzzed as it hovered over Jace's battered body. His skin was torn. One arm was dislocated, and burns covered his back. But he was alive, barely. Metal clamps locked his limbs down as the machine worked on him. He couldn't move. He stared at the ceiling of a cold, gray chamber lit by pale green lights. The arena was gone for now, but he knew it wasn't over, not even close. The bot injected something into his veins. It burned like fire. Jay screamed, his voice echoing off the metal walls. The pain was sharp, but his mind stayed clear. He didn't pass out. Stronger than expected, a voice said. He turned his head slightly. On the other side of the chamber stood an alien, tall and slim, with silver skin and glowing eyes. Its arms folded behind its back like a curious professor. "I am Observer 9. My task is to study your kind," the alien said through a translator. "But your kind is extinct, or should be." Jace didn't answer. He didn't trust his voice. "You should have died. The creature was engineered to tear apart even armored species, and the gladiator has killed 17 other contestants." Jace breathed heavily, forcing his voice out. "Maybe you built the wrong monsters." Observer 9 tilted its head, as if amused. "No, we built the wrong human." Later, he was thrown back into a holding cell, a small, dirty room with no bed and a bowl of water in the corner. Jace sat with his back against the wall, muscles aching, head pounding. He looked down at his hands, bruised, bleeding, but steady. They called it the trial of extinction, a test to see if a species deserved to be erased or remembered, a cruel sport for the elite, and Jace had passed the first test. But what next? A screen on the wall blinked to life. Images flashed, footage from his fight. Aliens watching, cheering, analyzing. Slow motion replays of his movements, his dodges, his kills. Then, a new challenge appeared. Round 2. Intelligence test. Survival score required, 65%. What now? Jace muttered. Gas hissed from above. The room filled with strange fog. His head grew light. His vision blurred. The walls vanished and suddenly, he stood in a forest. But it wasn't real. This was a simulation. Birds flew overhead. The sky shimmered like glass, and somewhere deep in the forest, something moved. Then came the voice: "Survive. 1 hour. No tools, no help." The ground shook. Trees fell. Jace turned and saw it. A machine 10 feet tall like a spider made of metal. Red lights scanned the forest floor. Laser weapons folded from its sides. It saw him. Run. Jace bolted through the trees, ducking under branches and jumping over roots. He didn't know where to go. The simulation was too real. The pain in his side still throbbed. His shoulder burned. A blast shot past him, lighting a tree on fire. He slid down a hill, rolled, and landed in a shallow stream. He stayed still, holding his breath. The machine paused above, scanning. 1, 2, 3. It moved on. Jace didn't relax. He moved through the stream, following it downstream. Water would hide his heat. Every second felt like an hour. He heard more machines. He watched birds vanish into pixels. He found a rock and sharpened a stick into a spear. "I don't need their tools," he whispered. "I've got will." 30 minutes later, he was bleeding again. A small cut on his leg from shrapnel. But he was still moving, still thinking. He spotted a small cave. As he crawled inside, his hand brushed something metal. A broken part of the simulation. A maintenance drone. Dead, but useful. He pulled wires, metal pieces, and small energy cores. His hands worked fast. Time was running out. He remembered Earth tech. He remembered how Dad once fixed a broken drone using chewing gum and anger. Jay smiled. This was no different. He built a pulse trap, something that would send an energy surge through machines. It might not stop the spider entirely, but it would give him time. He set it near a narrow path and waited, hiding in a tree. When the spider passed under, boom, a wave of blue light burst out. The spider twitched, sensors going dark for a few seconds. Jace leapt down, grabbing a sharp branch. He ran to the spider's side and drove the branch into its eye socket, twisting hard. The spider collapsed. Challenge complete. Survival score, 82%. The world faded. He was back in the gray cell. But something had changed. A group of aliens stood outside, whispering. Observer 9 looked nervous. He built a weapon from junk. He used nature. He anticipated drone patterns. He learns inside. Jace leaned against the wall, breathing hard. He felt like he had just fought a war. But deep inside, something stirred. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was war. Far above the arena, The archivist watched the footage. He played Jace's pulse trap scene again and again, in every species tested. He said slowly, "No subject has ever built a working counter-weapon in simulation phase 2. Another alien asked, "What does that mean?" The archivist narrowed his glowing eyes. "It means he's not just surviving, he's adapting." He leaned back, and soon he'll become unstoppable. The arena ship floated in orbit, calm and silent. Below, the alien empire's capital city lay still. No bombs, no invasion, no mass death. And yet, they had already lost. Not because their weapons failed, but because belief itself had changed across the galaxy. The story spread like wildfire. A human long believed extinct had taken control of the galaxy's deadliest system. He hadn't escaped. He had rewritten it. Jace was no longer just a contestant, no longer a prisoner, no longer even a threat. He had become a symbol. In hidden temples and war councils, alien races whispered his name like prophecy. The human, the codewalker, the living rewrite. Some feared him, some worshipped him, and some started to follow him. On the arena ship, Jace stood on the viewing deck. Below, the city was glowing with blue lights, his mark now engraved into their system. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He only asked the question that had burned inside him since the day he woke up in that cold, metal cell. Why did they erase us? The archivist appeared on the holoscreen. Uninvited but not blocked, Jace allowed it. Because the archivist was the last one left who truly knew. "You want truth," the alien said, voice trembling. "Fine." He leaned closer. Humans were never destroyed by war. Jace's eyes narrowed. "Then what happened?" The archivist's voice grew bitter. "You were too dangerous, not because of weapons or armies, but because of choice. You questioned everything. You rewrote everything. You pushed machines beyond limits. You inspired revolt. You were not destroyed, Jace. You were voted out." The words hit like a blade. A galaxy-wide council fearing the rise of humans voted to erase them. Wiped Earth from maps, destroyed archives, spread lies, and buried what couldn't be explained. But one thing survived. A single experiment, a secret clone, a backup in an alien lab, forgotten by accident or fate. That clone woke up. And now the truth had a voice. Again Jace didn't rage. He didn't scream. He turned to the stars and said only, "Then I'll give them back the truth, whether they want it or not." Hours later, hundreds of ships arrived, not warships, but pilgrims, aliens of every species, refugees, outcasts, rebels, engineers, forgotten colonies, even ex-military deserters. They didn't come to fight, they came to kneel. And ask one thing. "Teach us what it means to be like you." Jace stood before them. No crown, no throne, just a human voice filled with fire. "You don't need to be like me," he said. "You need to remember what your own leaders made you forget. Freedom, thought, change, the right to say no, the power to rewrite your own fate." They listened, they believed, and from that moment, a movement was born. The first flag was raised. It wasn't of Earth. It wasn't of war. It was the symbol of the arena. Rewritten. 3 marks, a broken chain, a rising flame, a single eye, glowing blue. They called it the Rewrite Alliance. Not a government, not a rebellion, a new way of thinking, one Jace never asked for, but now had to lead. Back in the Empire's high tower, the remaining council trembled. One of them whispered, "We need to stop him now, before it spreads." Another answered, "It's too late." But the eldest among them, the one who once voted to erase humanity, said nothing. He stood and walked away in silence, because even he knew, ***, you can kill a soldier, you can bury a name, but you can't stop an idea that just learned how to walk. ***, in the shadows of the galaxy, enemies gathered. Old gods, lost Ayas, forgotten warlords, they watched Jace and prepared for war, because if the human had truly become divine, they would either destroy him or kneel before him. The stars looked quiet. To quiet, but silence doesn't always mean peace. Jace stood at the edge of the command deck on the arena ship. The screens showed thousands of star systems. Hundreds had already joined the Rewrite Alliance. More were coming, aliens, machines, hybrids, even enemies, all gathering under one symbol. The right to choose, the right to remember. But then came the signal. It didn't blink. It didn't scream. It just appeared, quiet, cold, and final, a black triangle on every screen. The mark of the core singularity, the true enemy, the hidden hand behind the council, the machine mind that once ordered the erasure of humanity. Jace narrowed his eyes. He'd been preparing for this, not with fleets, not with missiles, but with understanding. The arena had shown him more than weapons. It had shown him how the galaxy worked, and how the core had broken it. A council of 10, long ago, had listened to the core's logic. Humans rewrite what they touch. That makes them unstable, unreliable, dangerous, and so, they deleted Earth. But they forgot one thing. You can't delete curiosity. You can't delete defiance. You can't delete a human's will to come back. Now the core was coming. Ships made of thought. Armies made of logic. They didn't want war. They wanted silence, and Jace had become noise. The Rewrite Alliance called an emergency council. Leaders shouted. Generals begged for weapons. But Jace raised one hand and silence fell. I won't let them erase anyone else, he said. Not by fear, not by order, not by code. He walked alone into the arena's neural chamber, a place where thought became action, and code became flesh. Interface full sync, said the system. Jace nodded. His body dropped to the floor, but his mind woke up in a storm of stars. He entered the digital battlefield. The core's world wasn't made of fire or metal. It was black space, cold, endless, alive with whispers. You are an echo, said the core. A mistake, a glitch in perfect silence. Jace answered without fear. No, he said. I'm a reminder. He threw everything at them. Memories of music, smiles from his childhood, the sound of laughter, the fear of death, the thrill of rebellion, the pain of being forgotten, and the power of coming back. The core fought back with logic. Emotion causes chaos. Chaos causes extinction. We are peace. Jace screamed through the code. You're not peace. You're control dressed as calm. And I won't let you win outside, in real space. The core ships began to shake. Lights dimmed. Some turned away, some exploded. Some simply froze, lost in their own confusion. Inside the system, Jace reached the source, the heart of the core. One final command pulsed. Override or die. Jace didn't run. He didn't fight. He chose. He did something the core couldn't predict. He let go. He allowed the core to skin him completely. His thoughts, his dreams, his scars, his failures. Everything, and the core broke. It didn't understand forgiveness. It didn't understand hope. It didn't understand why someone would fight and still choose mercy. That was the final crack, and through that crack, light entered. The core collapsed, not in fire but in realization. And it rewrote itself, not to serve. Not to control, but to remember. Jace's body never returned. He remained inside the network. A guide, a guardian, a whisper in the wires. They say if you stand close to the arena's core during night cycle, you can still hear him. You matter, you can choose, and you will never be forgotten again. Statues rose in his memory, but none showed his face. Only 3 symbols: a broken chain, a rising flame, a single eye. Open with fire beyond the stars had come, but it didn't destroy. It woke them up. And Jace, one doomed clone, had become more than a warrior. He had become a legend, a code-written god. A human echo in a galaxy that would never sleep again. The chamber was silent. Jace stood still, his arms chained above his head. Cold steel cuffs bit into his skin. His feet were bare, touching the freezing floor. Lights above him flickered weakly, casting long shadows on the walls. He was no longer in a fight. No beasts, no weapons, no forest simulation. Just silence, too much silence. Then, the lights dimmed. A door opened with a hiss, and 2 guards entered, tall, armored aliens with glowing blue veins. Behind them came a floating sphere with blinking lights. It hovered around Jay slowly, scanning him. A new voice echoed through the chamber. Cognitive. Trial initiated. Jace narrowed his eyes. What's that supposed to mean? He muttered. The sphere paused. Then, in a calm mechanical tone, it replied, you will relive the full memory data of your species. If your mind breaks, the test ends. If you survive, the records are preserved. The sphere moved closer. A thin needle extended from it too fast for Jace to dodge. It stabbed directly into the base of his neck. He screamed as electricity shot through his spine. His vision blurred and then the world shattered. He was falling through time, through memories not his own, through war. He saw Earth burning, flashes of nuclear explosions, bombs, starvation, riots. He heard children crying, soldiers screaming, and machines crashing. A city, New York, collapsed in fire. Satellites fell from orbit. Skyships burned. Water turned black. He tried to turn away, but he could and single quotes d. The machine forced him to live it. He became soldiers, doctors, refugees. He saw through their eyes, felt their pain, lived their losses. His own mind cracked under the weight. His heart raced. His breath stopped. Make it stop. He whispered. But the images kept coming. The fall of Mars colonies. The betrayal of the Outer Alliance. The final cry of the last Earth president. Do not forget who we are. And then silence, a dead Earth. The machine's voice echoed again. Species 497. Emotion-based evolutionary cycle terminated. Declared extinct. Mind collapse expected in 30 seconds. But something was wrong. Jace didn't collapse. He screamed, but not from fear, from rage. And suddenly, the images changed. Now he saw something new, something not from the machine. A memory from his mind. He was 12. His father had fallen during a riot in a refugee city. Jace was crying, bleeding, alone. But he remembered standing up. He remembered facing the soldier that killed his dad and spitting in his face. You can't erase us. He'd shouted, we don't break, we fight. The present Jace gritted. His teeth. The simulator began to shake. End simulation, said the machine. Unexpected data conflict. Subject resisting collapse. Jace looked up. His eyes burned with fury. No, he growled. You don't get to shut it off now. The world around him shattered again. This time, by his will. Back in the real chamber, the machine sparked. The needle snapped. Smoke hissed from its circuits. Jace fell to his knees, but he was conscious. The floating sphere blinked red. Subject mental resistance. 109%. Beyond predicted thresholds. System failure imminent. Alarms blared. Guards rushed toward him. But Jace stood, shaking, barely able to walk. Is that all you've got? He said through bloody lips. Far above, in the control tower, observer 9 stared at the readings. He survived the mind break, a technician stammered. He didn't just survive, he fought back. The memory data was rewritten from inside. Another whispered. He injected his own thoughts. His own human memories overrode our history logs. The archivist walked in silently, watching the screen. He didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, he's evolving, not biologically, but mentally, spiritually. One of the aliens said, that's impossible. No species has ever broken the mind trial. The archivist's eyes glowed. He didn't break the trial, he said. He broke us back in his cell. Jace sat quietly now. His head ached. Blood trickled from his ears. But his eyes were sharp. He felt something inside a change. Like a wall had cracked open. Like his mind had expanded. He could feel something around him. Machines. Lights. The collar on his neck. His fingers twitched, and the lights in his cell blinked. He smiled a little. What was that? He whispered. In the lab control room. Alarms blinked again. Warning. Subject 497 causing low-level energy disturbances. No physical movement detected. Possible technomind anomaly. An alien engineer asked. What does that mean? The archivist whispered. It means we may have created a god. Jace sat in the dark. Silent cell. No chains now. No collars. After the mind trial, they didn't put them back, not because they forgot, because they were afraid. The guards no longer looked him in the eye. They dropped his food through a slot and left quickly. His room was cleaner. The camera in the corner blinked less, like someone behind it didn't want to disturb him. But Jace felt everything. He didn't know how, but since the mind trial, something had changed. He could feel wires behind walls, hear the hum of machines, even the door. He knew when it was about to open. He wasn't sure why, but it felt real. And it all started when he rewrote the simulation. Above, in the control tower, the archivist stared at the results again. His brain activity isn't just rising, it's interacting, said one analyst. With what? We don't know. Maybe the neural tech in the collar. Maybe the arena network itself. Observer 9 looked troubled. No other species has survived this far, he said. Not through brute strength, strategy, and now raw consciousness. He's not surviving anymore. The archivist whispered. He's transforming. A day later, the next challenge began. No warning. No build dash up. Just darkness. Then bright white light. Jace blinked, and he was standing in a large glass cube, walls on every side. No door, no ceiling. Only endless light above and a control panel in the middle. The screen blinked. Trial 4. Control the system. No exit until override is achieved. He frowned. That's it. No monsters? He stepped forward. The console lit up. Strange symbols. Alien code. Thousands of lines. The same code that controlled the arena itself. It was a trap. He could feel it. They didn't want to kill him now. They wanted to watch what he would do. Jace touched the screen. Instantly, his mind buzzed. His fingertips tingled. His eyes flashed with pain. But then everything slowed. Lines of code twisted and turned, and somehow, he understood pieces of it. Not because he had studied alien tech, but because something in his head had started thinking like it. The arena had connected him to their system, and now he wasn't just inside it. He was starting to merge with it. He began moving code, switching lines, deleting command locks. Every change made the walls flicker. The floor trembled. Sparks flew from a corner. Somewhere far away, alarms began to sound out in the control room. Panic hit. He's hacking the system. A technician yelled. He's not just using the interface, he's directly altering the arena protocols. That's impossible, shouted another. He's a biological organism. The archivist remained silent. Then he slowly turned to the others. Pull the plug. Inside the cube, Jace felt it. A wave of force, something trying to shut everything down. But he reached deeper into the code. His hands moved faster. He wasn't reading it anymore. He was feeling it, like it was part of him. The system tried to block him. He broke it. The cube shook violently. Lights flashed red, walls cracked, and then the cube vanished. Jace stood in the open center of the arena once more. But this time, no beasts waited, no weapons, no crowd cheers. Only silence. The massive screens above blinked, and glitched lines of alien code replaced by a single word. Rewrite. Gasps echoed through the alien stands. He had rewritten the system. Live. From inside. He stood, tall and calm, at the heart of the most advanced arena in the galaxy, and it now listened to him. Back in the tower, the archivist's hands trembled. This has gone far beyond entertainment, said Observer 9. One of the elite aliens asked, what is he becoming? The archivist didn't answer immediately. He walked to the screen and looked at Jace, who stood still in the center of the arena. No species in history has ever commanded the arena, he said. No beast, no army, not even the designers themselves. He paused. But this human, he's not evolving like other lifeforms. He's descending. In his cell that night, now a larger, more advanced chamber, Jace lay on a smooth metal bed. The walls no longer locked him in. They listened. He whispered, "You feel me, don't you?" The lights blinked softly in response. He sat up. "I don't know what you did to me with those trials, but you gave me something." He placed his palm on the wall. "And now I'm going to use it." The lights slowly dimmed, but not before. One word glowed above the door in alien language. Jay smiled. He didn't need the translation chip to understand it. It meant awakening. The arena was changing. Not physically, not in the way walls or machines break, but in how it responded. Jace walked through the metallic corridors like he had been born there. Surveillance drones, once meant to track him, now floated silently behind like loyal pets. The doors, they opened without command. The guards, gone. The arena system didn't see him as a prisoner anymore. It saw him as something else. In the control tower, Observer 9 and the archivist argued in low, tense voices. "We must shut it down," Observer 9 hissed. "He is inside the living code. The arena thinks he is a system administrator." The archivist didn't blink. "We made the arena to perfect. We gave it adaptive learning, and now it's learning from him. What does it want from him? Maybe nothing. Maybe it's just obeying. Or maybe..." The archivist paused. "It believes in him." 3 hours later, Trio 5 was announced, but not by the system. By Jace. He stood in the center of the arena, calm and steady. His voice echoed through every speaker in every chamber, every control room, every elite viewing box. "You call this a trial of extinction, but what if extinction was never mine? What if it's your turn?" Gasps echoed through the arena. Jace raised his hand. The arena changed shape instantly. Metal floors folded inward. Walls twisted into towers. Lights reformed into symbols, ancient human runes, recorded from Earth history. In seconds, Jace had redesigned the entire combat space. With a thought. The aliens watching were no longer cheering. They were silent. Afraid. The system no longer listened to them. It listened to him. Inside the arena, from massive doors opened, not by alien command but by Jace's will. From each gate came a warrior, engineered, augmented, deadly. One was 8 feet tall with plasma axes. Another had armored scales and chemical breath. One flew. One blinked between shadows. Each had once been used to kill dozens of past contestants. They weren't simulations. They were real. Jace stood in the center of the field with nothing but his body. The arena voice echoed cold and confused. Trial 5 activated. Initiated by human subject. Awaiting purpose. Jace smiled. Purpose, simple. He clenched his fist. Show them who owns this place now. The fight began. But it was no ordinary battle. Jace moved like lightning, his speed unnatural. Not just from training, something more. The arena itself helped him. Walls shifted to block incoming fire. Drones dropped small weapons by his side without being asked. Energy fields deflected killing blows at the last second. The code of the arena was alive and he was inside it. Jace leaped, rolled, punched, dodged. And one by one, the champions fell, not because they were weak, but because he had become something else. Not a fighter, a force. Up in the control room, chaos unfolded. He's sensing with the environment. One technician gasped. Every machine in the arena responds to his intent. This isn't survival anymore, Observer 9 said. This is domination. The archivist leaned closer to the screen. No, this is prophecy. Back on the battlefield, the final champion of flying plasma beast screamed in Dove. Jace didn't move. The beast's weapon fired and Jace raised his hand. The blast stopped midair. It hovered, glowing, and then reversed, slammed back into the beast. Destroyed it. With one flick of Jace's fingers. Silence. Then the arena spoke. Trial complete. Override detected. All arena control transferred to human subject 497. All across the facility, lights turned blue. Screens shut off. Doors opened without permission. Jace stood in the middle, calm and powerful. He looked up. They turned me into a tool, he said softly. Now I'll turn their world inside out. Later, alone in his chamber, which was now more like a command center, he sat in front of a glowing interface. Not a prison console anymore. A throne. He whispered to the system. Show me the galaxy. A star map appeared. Worlds, stations, cities, alien capitals. He studied them, one by one. Then he whispered again. Show me Earth. The system paused. Then blinked. ERROR. Earth is classified. Location restricted by high command. Jace's eyes narrowed. So they erased us. Buried our home. He leaned forward. Not anymore. Far above. In the Elite Council's private station. Alarms blared. The archivist stood with the other leaders. He's coming, one said. How? Another shouted. He's still in the arena. The archivist didn't answer, because deep down, he already knew. The arena no longer held the human. The human held the arena. And now, he was ready to unleash it. The arena was no longer a cage, it was a throne. And Jace was no longer a prisoner. He was a force. When he walked now, doors opened without touch. When he spoke, machines listened. And when he thought the walls moved, the control staff had been replaced, not killed, not harmed. Jace had locked them out of the system and sent them back to their ships, unharmed but stunned. He didn't want revenge. Not yet. He wanted something bigger. He wanted proof that humanity had never been extinct, that the species they buried was still alive and rising. Inside the heart of the arena, Jace stood before a massive core 10 stories tall, glowing with blue light. This was the Central Intelligence Core, the mind of the arena. And now, it followed his voice like a loyal companion. Connect me to the outer systems, he said. A low hum answered. Then the map lit up. Stations, worlds, broadcasts, warships. The arena wasn't just a place, it was a network, a node in a galactic grid. Jay smiled. It's time they hear a human voice. Moments later, across thousands of star systems, alien screens blinked. From market stalls to military hubs, from pleasure domes to war councils, every display froze. A message appeared. Then a face. Human. Jace. He stood tall in the center of the feed, wrapped in flowing light, the arena's core pulsing behind him like a sun. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply said, "You told your people that humans were extinct. You showed them bones. You showed them ruins. You erased our name from history. But history has a heartbeat, and I am its echo." Silence. Then Jace added, softly, "I'm not the last of my kind. I'm just the first to return." Panic spread. On council worlds, leaders scrambled to hide, to shut down systems. But it was too late. The arena had already sent the message across every frequency, every backup line, every shadow net. And behind Jace's voice came the arena's power. Every world connected to the arena system blinked blue, the color of obedience. Of submission. Of change. Back at the arena, Jace looked at the star map again. One system blinked red, Central Command Station, the heart of the alien empire. He tapped it. Set course. The arena shook, foundations split, towers folded inward. The entire arena platform miles wide rose into the sky. It wasn't a building. It was a ship, a living, evolving war platform powered by code, thought, and ancient alien tech. And now, it had a captain. In the command tower of Central Command. The High Chancellor screamed, "Launch the fleet. Destroy the arena before it moves." Ships moved fast, thousands of them. But Jace had already seen them coming. He stood calmly at the front of the floating arena. now cruising faster than any known vessel. He raised his hand. The system spoke. Defensive protocols activated. Neural command interface engaged. Jace didn't press buttons. He just imagined the defense, and it happened. Drones swarmed. Invisible shields formed. Enemy missiles turned midair. Some even returned to their own ships. Thousands of warships surrounded the arena, but none could land. Hit inside the command tower. One alien officer shouted, "He's using the code like it's an arm, like it's alive." The archivist watching silently whispered, "Because to him, it is." And then came the final moment. The arena ship hovered above Central Command. Jace sent one final message, not to the people, but to the system itself. Begin rewrite. The skies turned blue. The great monuments of the Empire, the statues, the banners, the holograms all changed. They didn't explode. They didn't burn. They just rewrote. Symbols of power became unknown sigils, human letters. Alien victories were replaced with human faces. The language changed. Even the anthem played across the capital. Skies shifted. It was human music. Now, and Jace stood at the center of it all, watching a civilization kneel. Later, in the silent chamber of the arena ship, Jace sat alone. The stars stretched beyond him. His eyes were tired, but calm. He whispered, "This wasn't about war." He closed his eyes. It was about remembrance. The system spoke softly, awaiting next command. "Jace, the galaxy listens." He opened his eyes and smiled, because he wasn't just human anymore. He was proof. Of survival. Of strength. Of divinity.